Tatooine Sons, a Star Wars podcast, is a proud member of the Making Star Wars Podcast Network, the two-time winner of the Fan Favorite Podcast Network from the Star Wars Podcast Awards. To learn more, go to makingstarwars.net.
Welcome, Star Wars fans, to episode 73 of Tatooine Sons. Vanity Fair has released its traditional Star Wars preview issue for The Rise of Skywalker, and the images are amazing. And it also gave us some new info on Keri Russell and Richard E. Grant's characters. We'll break the whole thing down and give some speculation based on what we've seen, including why what we've seen may only be true from a certain point of view. Plus, J.G. Carson of Blue Saber Podcast will get our hot takes on the latest Star Wars news and rumors, and we'll give our first impressions of Vader Immortal Episode 1.
So what I told you was true, from a certain point of view.
It's time for Tatooine Sons.
It's true. All of it.
What is the name of the Porg on the Millennium Falcon?
The Force is strong in my family.
What do you think his name is? It's a big moment.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Maybe Turbis?
Do or do not. There is no try.
Turbis? Pablo, if you're listening to this live stream, that Porg's name is now Turbis. It's a good Star Wars name.
We're not done yet.
These guys record an awesome podcast called Tatooine Sons. Everybody listen to it.
Welcome, Star Wars fans. This is Tatooine Sons, your weekly look at all things Star Wars, from the unique perspective of a father sharing his love for the amazing space fantasy saga with his two sons. I am BB Nathan, joined first by my brother, Samuel the Hutt.
True to Star Wars fans, thanks for tuning in, and if you're not a Star Wars fan, then you may not have seen the awesome photos released by Vanity Fair.
For some reason, I feel like I'm having deja vu right now. Like I've recorded this segment 3 times already.
Yeah.
Maybe we have.
I don't know.
Yeah. Mic issues, you know. Hey, it's not as we say, it's not a Tatooine Sons recording unless we have some kind of technical difficulties, so.
And of course, you can't have Star Wars without bizarre father figures. So on that note, here's my dad's bow tie Jedi got.
Well, happy birthday again.
Thank you.
Sort of lost our momentum with the birthday stuff. But yeah, yesterday was your birthday. We celebrated that a little bit.
Yeah.
Wasn't a big party. You want to stop stroking my shoulder? Okay. This is getting weird. Okay. Yeah. Anyway.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Get our momentum going.
You'll probably want to watch the video of that in order to see what just happened there. Anyway, so Samuel, yesterday was your birthday. Your big party's in a week or so, but yesterday was a good birthday for you.
Yeah,
so
it's just a little small thing we did with the family.
Yeah, so tell the listeners.
So basically, we just had the family over, had some Pizza Hut for lunch, went out to Red Robin for dinner.
His 2 favorite meals.
Right, so. I love those places. It was fun, just something small. I got some cool stuff. I got a Black Series, brand new Black Series Boba Fett from BB-8, and it looks great. And then I got an old 1979 original Boba Fett Kenner action figure, which is also pretty cool. But what's funny is we were walking around. Well, I was trying to find one.
Yeah, there's a story behind that actual Kenner figure. So.
I was looking around Celebration, and I just couldn't. I was dead set on getting a Kenner Boba Fett, but I just couldn't find one.
Well, we found a few.
We found one particularly. It was still in the box.
Yeah.
It was in perfect condition. The box was in amazing condition. It was definitely a 1979 one. What was the price point of that?
I don't remember.
I think it was like $4,000.
$4,500 for that. So
that's why
he didn't buy that.
Couldn't find one.
Yeah.
And then we were walking around the mall here in Colorado, Colorado, and there's this old action figure store, and they had an original 1979 Kenner Boba Fett. Now,
Didn't have the weapon, the rifle, wasn't in the case.
No, but it was the Boba Fett. It was about, I don't remember how much it was, but I was like, yeah, I just can't justify getting that right now. So a few weeks later, Nate and I are going to a movie, and afterward we're walking around the mall, and I'm like, let's go check out that store real quick. And I go to the case where they had the figure, and it was gone. And I was like, oh, dang it. And someone took the Boba Fett. And little did I know that...
Here, hold on. This would be a good sound effect. Yeah.
Evil laugh.
Yeah, so the reason it wasn't there was because I had already bought it.
Mm-hmm. So that was a lot of fun. And then...
Let me tell can I tell the part of the story that I've been holding back and I haven't told you?
Sure.
I know. I think I may have said on the show that my first Star Wars figure was the big, the tall Barbie-sized doll of Luke Skywalker.
The 6-inch or whatever.
No, it's bigger than that. It was 12-inch or something.
Okay.
It's huge.
Anyway,
that got stolen from me when I was 5, and all that kind of stuff from somebody at school stole it or whatever.
He's still salty.
I am a little bit. Especially when I see it in other stores, and I'm like, oh my gosh,
was he the one that
is that one mine? No. But my first Star Wars 3.5-inch action figure was that Boba Fett.
Really?
I loved that character at that time. I loved it a lot. I got that. I don't remember who got that for me. It was like a birthday or something like that. But I got that. So when I bought that, at the store that we were talking about, and I took a look at it, it was like, I was standing there holding it after taking it out of the package and looking at it and stuff. And it was like flooding me with all of these childhood memories of playing with that character.
That's cool.
Because I mean, it was like a mashup in our backyards when we were playing with these characters. We had G.I. Joe, we had He-Man, we had Star Wars figures, and they were like these massive crossover events in our backyard. But I had that Boba Fett.
That's cool.
With that, so. So you got talk about some of the things other things you got for your birthday.
Yeah, so I was planning on getting this anyway. I just happened to get it on my birthday. But after cake and stuff, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to Best Buy and I'm getting the Oculus Quest. Because I had been wanting the thing ever since we heard about it, like well before I tried out the demo at Celebration. I'm like, I got enough money for it. I'm going to Best Buy. I'm getting this thing. So we go down to Best Buy, check. I'm like, y'all have the Oculus Quest? And I'm like, well, we have it, but it just may not be in stock. They've been flying off the shelves lately. So we walk over to the section and it's out. And they're like, well, we can always, or you can always order it and we can just have it shipped to your house or to here or whatever. And Dad's like, well, hold on. Let me see if it's somewhere else. And he's like, the Walmart that's 3 miles up the road says it has some in stock. And so we're like, we rush up there. Because, we were really worried that within those 5 minutes, but we were nervous because, it's Walmart and they're not always accurate on their website. So we asked, do y'all have the Oculus Quest? Because I walked through the game section and I didn't see it. And I was really starting to worry. And they're like, oh, yeah. So they walk over and they're like, yeah, what are these things? We just put them up on the shelves today. I was about to read up about them. We're like, how do you not know about these? They had 2 in stock. So we got one, rushed home, plugged it in, and tried out Vader Immortal.
Yeah, so why don't we give our first impressions? BB Nate, you played it after he did, but you've been talking for this whole episode already, so let's get BB Nate in here. Let him talk a little bit. What were your first impressions? Don't spoil it, don't tell story, but first impressions of Vader Immortal Episode 1.
It was very interesting for a story-driven VR game that had kind of a time limit, if you know what I mean. It
was linear.
It had some glitches here and there. There's a part where you have to cut stuff with your lightsaber to get to the next part, and Zoe, your droid companion, I cut a part and it was good and all. She decided to just stay there for 10 minutes, just stopped.
Really? That didn't happen to me.
The pipe stayed there, but it wasn't in her way or anything.
Oh, it was just locked out the way that it went down.
And so I cut it again.
That happens.
It didn't work. I cut it again and it didn't work. I waited for 5 minutes and she's like, oh, okay. And she just started walking again.
Okay.
I'm like,
I didn't have any glitches when I was playing.
Yeah. So, but just overall, the gameplay, the storyline, what'd you think about that?
It was amazing. And the graphics were really good for a VR game that takes that long.
that's not plugged into a PC or a console.
Yeah. Your impression, Sam?
Well, I did the demo, and I was like, wow, this has a pretty interesting story.
You did the demo at Celebration.
Right, at Celebration. I'm like, wow, this has a pretty interesting story. And then I played this, and I'm like, wow, the story is way more interesting than the demo was letting on. Your character is more important than you thought. But other than the story, the gameplay was a lot of fun. The lightsaber fights were a lot of fun. The graphics were great. It was just all really well done. It was, the story still made sense and worked, even though you weren't able to talk. Like everything still flowed really naturally.
Yeah, well,
So
what's the name of the droid?
Zoe.
Zoe is your voice.
Right.
She's the one that's carrying on the character, the conversation for you in it, and that was good. And Maya Rudolph, I think, is the one that plays that, and she did a great job. On that. What did you guys think about Scott Lawrence as Darth Vader? You know, Scott is a Yeager from.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's a Yeager from Star Wars Resistance. He plays the voice of Darth Vader.
Oh, it was good. I hardly noticed any difference.
Is that James Earl Jonesy enough?
Yeah.
For
Oh, yeah. It sounded great.
He's done Vader and several other things before. So.
Yeah. No, it worked great. I loved it. I loved Vader. This isn't a spoiler because it was in the demo, so it's not that big a deal. When Vader walks up to you, it's intimidating.
When the in the opening sequences when you're captured, and it's not really spoiler.
That's the MacGuffin.
That's the whole MacGuffin of the story is you getting captured at the beginning by the Empire. When the ship is boarded and the stormtroopers came in, I was almost. My heart started to race a little bit just with the stormtroopers coming in. They come in there pointing their weapons at you, and my hands went up.
I know.
Did yours?
Yeah.
Oh, my hands went up. I was like, oh, wait a second.
I mean, you don't think of stormtroopers as scary in the movies.
Yeah, they're scary when they're pointing a gun at you.
Am I the only one that tries to do the weirdest stuff in this thing?
I do a little bit. Like when Vader was next to me, I tried to grab his lightsaber.
I did the same thing. The stormtroopers, that part, I tried to punch them.
I put in my finger guns at him,
or try to grab their gun from them.
No, I didn't do any of that. And then when Vader walked in to your cell at the very beginning as well, that was a lot.
And who's the officer's name? I forget his name every time.
Anyway, it doesn't matter.
I don't know.
I know.
It doesn't matter.
He's pretty cool too. He gets up in your face a couple times.
Yeah, no, I had to back off at one point because he got too close to me and he was messing it up. And I had to back up, because I was standing my ground, and I'm like, wait, he's coming at me more. Okay.
But it was great. I would recommend getting the Oculus Quest. So
yeah, it was a lot of fun. So
if not, borrow your friends so you can play Vaders.
Or if you have a great gaming PC, get the Rift S.
Yeah, I don't think it's out on Rift
yet. Just find a way to play Vader.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So just before we get into the rest of the show, I want to give a shout out to LJ Snowder, who's our newest Patreon supporter. LJ, we go back a long ways. We go all the way to Star Wars Celebration Orlando. Apparently, we spent more time talking to him. Obviously, this last celebration in Chicago, we ran into each other 2 or 3 times with it. But him and his wife and his daughter, who did a great cosplay of Dr. Aphra, by the way. She did amazing with that. But it was in Chicago that he reminded me that we had waited in line with them in Celebration Orlando and talked with them. And so then when he started listening to our show and I think we mentioned the Star Wars Celebration Orlando 40 years of 3PO panel and all that kind of stuff, he was as he was listening to our show, he interacted on Twitter and told us that he remembered that, but I didn't know that was a connection. Well, LJ, he's a big supporter of Star Wars podcasts. I know he's a Patreon supporter of several other shows. We're very excited, LJ, to have you as a Patreon supporter here on Tatooine Sun. So thank you very, very much. All right. Let's get this show started by jumping into this week's podcast. Last week's podcast.
That's the only problem we have, though. We're doing pretty good.
We've had problems for an hour.
Are you brainless? I never asked that question until after I've done it. What?
All right, so last week's episode was all about Count Dooku, Jedi Lost. Obviously, if you have not listened to that audiobook, we encourage you to do that before. Well, yeah, go rethink your life, as in the immortal words of Obi-Wan Kenobi. You need to go home and rethink your life. But listen to it and then check out our episode, because I think we have some really good insight. We interacted a little bit with Kevin Scott before and after as well on that. But last week's podcast poll was all about that, and the question was, would you like to see a sequel to Dooku Jedi Lost? This was, without a doubt, our most lopsided poll in the history of the show. But interestingly enough, it was the 80-20 rule kicking in. We had 0% say other comment below. We did get a few comments, and we'll read a couple of those here in a minute. But only 19% said they didn't want a sequel to Dooku Jedi Lost, and 81% said that they do want a sequel to Dooku Jedi Lost.
Which follows the trend.
The trend is the 80-20 rule. We've been saying since The Last Jedi came out that while there are people that don't like certain things with Star Wars, generally speaking, you've got about 80% of Star Wars fans that are favorable to pretty much anything that comes out Star Wars related. They're going to be positive about it. They're going to stay, pretty light side, and they may like certain things better than other things. But at the same time, it's Star Wars, and they like that.
Right.
While you have 20% that seem to be just
against
everything that happens with Star Wars, it almost felt like that. I mean, why would you be against a sequel to Dooku Jedi Lost? So
it's not like I think Nate said this one of the previous times we were recording. It's not like it's a sequel trilogy thing. Or anything like that, which is
it's not connected to the sequel trilogy,
right? So, which is what a lot of people are having problems with. It's just Dooku before any of the stories actually happened. So, I don't feel like there should be any problem with it.
Yeah, what do you think about the poll results there, BB Nate?
I agree with you. It's the 80-20 rule. I mean, I want it. I want a sequel. Like you were saying, who doesn't?
Yeah, well, there's this gap of time. Like we talked about on the previous episode, the only storyline that we see, it's a long period of time, but it is all about Dooku's time with the Jedi, from the time as an initiate to the time he leaves the Order. But then you don't have any story as to really how he came to connect with Darth Sidious, with Senator Palpatine. You don't know how he goes from leaving the Jedi Order to full-on Sith dark side, surrendering to the dark side. He leaves the Jedi Order over justice.
Right.
And that kind of thing. And then when we get to Attack of the Clones, he's a Sith. I want that story.
Yeah.
And I think that Kevin Scott should do so. And one of the things I interacted with Kevin about this week was early on in the story, you find out that Jenza, his sister, carries this crystal with it, and then at the same that was given to her by her grandmother. While at the same time, we also find out that Dooku's grandfather is the one that helped lead the House of Sereno and the rest of the planet in throwing out the Sith. So Jenza's grandmother has a crystal that's really important to her. Hello? Her grandfather fights the Sith, and Dooku's one of the strongest in the Force that we know. There's a story there, too.
Yeah.
Let's tie that in to that. And actually, I asked Kevin if there's a story there that needs to be told, and he just replied, "Time will tell." So let's read some of the comments that you guys had about this.
Yeah, so this is from My Star Wars Life Debt at Bloody Orm. We've interacted with him a lot.
Great Star Wars family-friendly podcast.
Said, if they do a sequel, I would love it to be about his turn to the dark side and how he became Sidious's apprentice. I get the feeling that his long-term goals differed from Palpatine's.
Yeah, that ending is really interesting there when he says, I get the feeling that his long-term goals differ from Palpatine's. Why do you guys think that might be the case?
I just feel like they never, the two Sith never were on the same page for everything. I can't pull out a single specific anecdote, whatever the word is. Anecdote, that's what I'm looking for. I can't pull out one of those, but I just always got the vibe that they weren't on the same page all the time.
Yeah, it seems like Dooku is always...
Especially in the Clone Wars series.
Yes.
Yeah.
He always is kind of just not wanting to do what Palpatine...
He's kind of always off doing his own thing anyway.
Yeah.
I feel like he's less of a Sith and more of just a dark side user who happens to be like in politics.
Yeah.
Like, he's not necessarily a Sith.
Yeah, it was interesting for me going all the way back to Attack of the Clones, both the novelization and the film itself, that when Dooku is having that scene with Obi-Wan Kenobi, when Obi-Wan's been captured on Geonosis, every word he says in that sequence is true. There's a Sith Lord that's in control. The Jedi can't see it. The Jedi are corrupt. All this other stuff. Everything he says in that is true. I sort of wonder if there's this underlying twisted logic that's going on with Dooku at that point, where he's like, I'm going to overthrow Sidious and restore justice, kind of like what Anakin says to Padme. Yeah. I think that's sort of, and of course, the apprentice overthrowing the master is a prominent tenet of the rule of two. Mm-hmm. That should happen. That's the goal, and both the master and the apprentice know that that's the goal of that relationship. So I want to hear more about that.
And one of the things I've noticed is most of the time, Sith are telling the truth. Which is crazy because. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Jedi lied at times.
All the time.
Yeah. So you can see why Anakin had trust issues.
Absolutely.
The Jedi weren't perfect. So there's really a lot more gray area than we let on.
And the fact that the Jedi aren't perfect is a prominent theme of Dooku Jedi Lost. Check it out.
Yeah.
So the next one is Clark Ross, Jedi Master, and his Twitter handle is at star_spider27.
Yeah.
He said, I'd like to see an audio about Luke Skywalker post Return of the Jedi in the same style as Jedi Lost.
What do you think about that? Return of the Jedi is one of your favorite Star Wars movies.
Isn't Star Spider 27 the guy who we thought was Rian Johnson on one poll?
He says he doesn't. He isn't.
Yeah. No, I know, but I just thought that was...
He replied back to me later and said, no, I'm not Rian Johnson.
Yeah. Anyway.
It was a joke, by the way. Yeah,
right.
Just for those of you that don't know what we're talking about.
We have weird, vague reference. So
but if you're a weekly listener, you can be in on our inside jokes. So anyway, go ahead.
So, with the whole Return of the Jedi, post-Return of the Jedi, he would be going for that artifact. I forget the planet's name, but
the
it's
compass on Helios, I think.
I think it was Helios. Yeah, it would be, I think, him leading up to that. But that's post-ROTJ.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Yeah, I think that having him, we've seen in the comics that he and Lor Santeca are going all throughout the galaxy looking for Jedi artifacts to understand the Jedi better. I'd like that story. I want more of that story. I want to know who Lor Santeca is, Church of the Force, what's going on with Luke throughout that, an audiobook. Or an audio novel of that would be a lot of fun. So I'm all for that.
Yeah, no, I love that. Anything after Return of the Jedi, I'm down for. Like Mandalorian, I'm super pumped because it's an area we haven't explored. So to see Luke Skywalker after Return of the Jedi, yeah, no, I'm down for that. And in this format, perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. And then our good buddy, Patreon supporter Rick Villanueva, his is real short and sweet. Yes, but only if it's called Lost Jedi 2 Electric Dookaloo. Do you guys have any idea what that's about?
I think
it's the old song from the 80s. Let's go down to
Electric Avenue.
So.
I
Lost Jedi 2 Electric Dookaloo. All right.
Okay, I get it now.
On that note.
That's good. I like that idea too.
All right.
Hey, we actually got through this section.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, don't jinx us, buddy. Well, again, we're excited to have J.G. Karst with us doing our hot takes, but this time he's not on the East Coast in Pennsylvania where he normally is. He's on the West Coast. You're in L.A., is that right?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
And don't know all the details as to what you've got going on in L.A., but I'm pretty excited that something is cool is happening. You've told me that, and we'll get more information about that down the road. But thank you for waking up early this morning on the birthday of Star Wars, May 25th, to record with us and give us your hot takes. We're excited about it.
I'm very excited about it, too. And yeah, happy birthday, Star Wars.
Yeah. Why don't you take it over?
All right, so a script treatment is apparently in the works for a beloved video game, and EA reveals that we'll be getting more information on Jedi Fallen Order very soon. But is it good news for the casual gamer? And finally, this Thursday, was make Solo 2 happen, which resulted in many fans, cast, and crew showing their love and support for this film, including a shocking tease at what Solo 2 could look like. It's time for hot takes.
This is where the fun begins.
Well, you want the bad news or the really bad news?
Impressive. Every word in that sentence was wrong.
All right. Go for it.
All right. We are one more step closer to a larger galaxy a long time ago. Kate Arthur at BuzzFeed News broke earlier this week. A movie based on Star Wars: The Knights of the Old Republic, the beloved video game first released in 2003, is currently being written by, I apologize again for probably not pronouncing this right, but Laeta Kalogridis, we'll go with that.
Yeah, why not?
Who wrote Avatar and Shutter Island is doing this for Lucasfilm. 3 sources close to the project told BuzzFeed News. Kalogridis is close to finishing the first script of a potential KOTOR trilogy, according to 3 sources. She's the first woman writer of Star Wars movies since Empire Strikes Back in 1980, when Leia Brackett received a co-writing credit with Lawrence Kasdan. We've heard many Star Wars movies getting written and getting the script treatment. Do you think this will actually end up being a full-force production and eventually end up being something we watch, or end up to the similar fate of the Boba Fett movie?
I feel like it's difficult to do a KOTOR movie just because, obviously it can't be exactly like, excuse me, the game, because then everyone will know what's happening. So, I don't know if they're ready to go down that route. I feel like maybe, if anything, it's just like they're just throwing around ideas, seeing what works, what doesn't. I feel like if they're going to do an Old Republic thing, it's going to have to be way down the road. I don't know if it's going to end up with the same fate as the Boba Fett movie. I don't know.
I don't think that I don't know. Because I really don't think that we're going to be doing Knights of the Old Republic movie, but you're saying that if it's exactly the same as the games, then everybody would know what was happening. Now, that was one of our complaints for Infinity War, that they didn't go with what the comics went for, and it was different.
Well, it was
different, but it was the same. I mean, that's my, while I didn't care that it was different, or, it didn't follow the comic book, it followed it enough that it was a letdown. Infinity War for me was a letdown.
Yeah.
Because everybody's got to die at the end of that movie. And you also knew when it was over. I mean, everybody was crying about Peter Parker and everybody was freaking out about all the deaths. The reality was they all coming back, and we knew that.
Right.
And so I think that's where Sam is going with this. If you know about Revan and Bastila and all these others, and you know what's going to happen with their storylines, then what's the point of writing the movie? Doing an Old Republic trilogy is an exciting idea. Mm-hmm. Doing an Old Republic trilogy that follows the storyline of Knights of the Old Republic game is a mistake.
Yes. I wouldn't mind something set in the Old Republic era.
I think they're going to go with kind of not the same vibe as, say, some of the games, but the time. Maybe some of the same classes. Since we have this lady, like you said, I don't want to try to pronounce her name. We have her, then we may have Benioff and Weiss. And then,
Benioff and Weiss are doing a trilogy, or a series of movies. We know that.
Ryan Johnson.
And we still are on that has not been shot down yet. So.
No, so we were thinking, Dad and I, that Benioff and Weiss are probably going to be doing the Sith.
Oh, this was our theory of what we'd like.
It's like, yeah.
Like the Sith side of it for Benioff and Weiss, the Jedi side of it with Ryan Johnson, and then come bring it all together in a 7th movie. But then you suggested
that I keep forgetting.
Wasn't there like a smuggler?
Yeah, there was a smuggler class as well. So I think
So maybe that's what this was. This was
3 trilogies.
Everyone has seemed to, for a year and a half now, been suggesting that if they're doing Old Republic, that Benioff and Weiss are going to be doing Old Republic, and they were the ones that were, according to everything announced by Star Wars and Lucasfilm and Disney, they're the ones writing their own series. So this, and I don't remember her name, and I'm not going to try to pronounce it either. But she's got some amazing writing chops with Avatar and Shutter Island and stuff like that. The question that I have is, And with BuzzFeed, they're a pretty reputable site. They've confirmed it with 3 different sources. It feels like it's more legitimate than some of the other rumors, like Yoda Bauer on Twitter the other day was like, "Oh, I was really getting worried because we hadn't had our Knights of the Old Republic rumor this week," when she put that out on Thursday or Friday. This seems a little more legitimate, than some of the others.
Like the Boba Fett,
Boba Fett was a real movie that they were going to do. They had a director ready to go and all that kind of stuff.
But the day of them kind of starting to push stuff out, it got
wasn't it
shot down the same day.
That it was kind of
I don't know for sure, but
it was weird.
If she's writing an Old Republic series of movies. The question that I have is then what are Benioff and Weiss writing? Because Benioff and Weiss seem to be the perfect fit based on their Game of Thrones background to write an Old Republic series of movies. So now I wonder what the heck that they're up to. So we'll just have to wait and see if this all pans out.
Definitely. It's very interesting. More to be revealed for Jedi Fallen Order at EA Play in 2 weeks, so roughly June 8th, June 9th, most likely on June 8th. EA has confirmed that we will be getting a gameplay trailer and an inside look more into the game. And of course, pre-orders have started to pop up for the game. But it's looking more that there will be an emphasis on combat in the game, even though it's still a single-player game, similar. And the combat is being described to be similar to the Dark Souls game, which emphasizes on difficult combat choices and challenging bosses. My question for you guys today is, are you guys still excited for this game? But do you think that this could swing too much in the opposite direction, where Battlefront 2 was criticized for not having a deep enough campaign? But Jedi Fallen Order is looking like it's going to put a huge emphasis on combat and everything. Could this deter the casual gamer and be maybe something too hard?
Jeez. When you said it's going to have a Dark Souls-esque feel, I immediately got super excited. But that's because I'm a pretty, hardcore gamer. I game all the time. But as soon as you said Dark Souls, I could see the look on Dad's face
change.
And he was kind of worried.
I'm not that good at this. I struggled yesterday with Vader Immortal. And that's not even complicated. I couldn't figure out how to even run the thing.
So I'm hoping, I would love for the challenging campaign, but I'm hoping they do it in a way to where you can change the difficulty settings from super easy, just want to do the story, to, okay, I want a real challenge. And I feel like they will do that because that just makes sense. But I would love for there to be a very difficult, Dark Souls-esque Star Wars game.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be the same, mechanics as Dark Souls with the whole abilities.
No.
You guys are speaking like Chinese to me right now. I have no idea what we're talking about.
Don't worry, it's okay.
But you say, I think it's more going for the Dark Souls version of difficulty, because it is notorious for how difficult the game actually is. So I'm still wondering if it's going to be like a Force Unleashed just style combat,
but more difficult.
If it's going to be a shoot 'em up game, or I don't know really what it's going to be. I think it's just going to be more difficult than usual.
I feel like it'll be like Force Unleashed and the Arkham games in a way with the combat. The combat will be more like Force Unleashed, probably about the same difficulty as Arkham. But you've got to remember, Force Unleashed had multiple different difficulty levels. We never played the difficult ones. We just wanted to play
the story.
So I feel like with the trends that we've seen in previous games, story games, they will have an easy beginner mode. So it's got enough of a challenge for casual gamers.
Also known as the old person's mode.
Right. Or just if someone who just wants to get the story. I mean, I feel like they'll do that. But then, the gamers who want to have a challenge, I think they'll put in more difficult modes.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Yeah, no, I'm concerned that EA is just being EA again, and that is overreacting. to a small concern or a small problem and swinging so far to the other direction that they create another problem. And if they're making this game much more difficult than it needs to be, it's going to create a real challenge for your casual gamers. Yeah. Those people like me that come in that like don't even turn on a gaming console unless it's a Star Wars game that just came out and then plays it in order to get I played Battlefront 2 to play the campaign mode to see the story. Right. I'm doing Vader Immortal with you guys, not because I want to sit there and put an Oculus headset on all the time and play games, but because I want the story. And I'm coming to Jedi Fallen Order with that anticipation as well. And so if it becomes so difficult that I cannot continue the story, it's going to hurt the game. Yeah. I'm concerned about it for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I understand totally where you're coming from. I've been at multiple games where I just stop playing it because it's too difficult. I put it down for years. And then I go back to the game. I'm like, okay. And I try it again. And I'm good at it. I'm better.
Yeah, because you get better at games and things and you can continue to play. But that doesn't apply to someone like me.
It doesn't apply to that. But I really don't think that they're going to be doing that. And I think
that would be a really
the worst thing that could happen to Jedi Fallen Order is that it gets to the point where I give up on the game and I just go find some cutscenes video on YouTube and watch it that way because I want the story that way. That would be a real mistake.
And I think that you said they're overreacting not only to Battlefront 2 but with their most recent game, Anthem. It got a humongous backlash as people said it wasn't fun. It just didn't fulfill me. It had no story or anything like that. I think they're trying to go with too much.
Well, I don't know if they're going with too much story. I think that they could be having a challenge, but we'll have to wait until just a couple weeks down the road to find out.
We shall indeed. Should be definitely interesting for that as well. And finally, Make Solo 2 Happen was this Thursday. Huge shout out to Resistance Broadcast.
Oh, yeah.
John, James, and Lacey. I met them personally in Celebration. They're amazing people. They've been pushing this for a year, and the day has finally come. And it was super huge to the point where it was trending on Twitter. Twitter made it one of the moments of the day. And websites, ET Canada was covering it. It was spreading like a wildfire to even point where Jonas Sotomo even tweeted about it. John Powell tweeted about it, who is the composer for Solo. Ron Howard, also tweeted about it. But most interestingly, John Kasdan
That's
tweeted,
the big one.
Yeah. And that is the big one. And his tweet had said, beyond grateful and galvanized by the hashtag Make Solo 2 Happen energy on Twitter today. It means so much to everyone involved, and your enthusiasm makes it possible for us to keep advocating for it. Because the maker knows there's a war story set in a galaxy far, far away that's yet to be told. And he included a image that had the symbols for the Pike Syndicate, the Hutt Cartel, and the Crimson Dawn. And I know that we definitely had a long rabbit trail on Twitter, but what are your whole thoughts about all of this?
Oh, well, I'm going to start there because obviously Solo's my thing. And I was engaged fully in Make Solo 2 Happen Day on Twitter, probably more than I should have been. But thank God I didn't have a lot of stuff going on at work that day. It was really fun. To see, first of all, to see Star Wars fandom come together favorably and positively behind something that they wanted to see happen. I wasn't a part of Clone Wars Saved. I didn't, that was all. Clone Wars Saved started before I got into Clone Wars. Yeah. And it was something that happened for years. And I'm not saying that this is not going to have to go on for several years before they come out with something, but I feel like I'm a part of Make Solo 2 Happen, on Twitter as we were retweeting constantly and engaging with it and trying to come up with stories and things. And, it was so much fun to see. When John Kasdan, tweeted that image out, I got really excited because of two things. One, he's already got a story in mind.
Oh, yeah.
That's been in play.
He's probably already writing it.
Yeah, and he said something to the effect, I don't have the quote right in front of me like you do, JG, but basically it's like we're going to continue advocating. That to me is exciting because that tells me that this is something that has not gone away on the back. It may be on the back burner as far as Disney Lucasfilm goes, but there are people like John Kasdan and others that are fully behind trying to get this going, and this was that shot of adrenaline for them to keep that momentum going and keep fighting for this. Do I ever think that, and this is me personally, do I think that we're going to see Solo 2 or whatever they end up doing with it on the big screen? I don't think so. But do I think that they've got some momentum now for the first time behind seeing something on Disney Plus? I think that we're really moving in that direction. What do you guys think?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I don't think it's big screen material, but I think it would fit perfectly on Disney Plus. A little movie or even TV series with this underground crime syndicate war. I would absolutely love to see the Crimson Dawn versus the Hutts versus the Pikes. I'm hoping to see Boba Fett, but then again, I'm always hoping to see Boba Fett. But I would love to see an all-out crime war, and I feel like they could definitely make it happen on Disney Plus.
I agree. I hope it gets. I don't care if it's on the big screen or on Disney Plus, if it's a series or a movie. I don't care. I just want something more with Solo to figure out what happens to Qi'ra. I don't know if we will figure anything out about that in Solo 2. I hope we do with Maul. Yeah. I hope Maul's a big part of it. Han Solo, of course, is going to be with Chewbacca and on Tatooine, so I think if they're going to go with anything, it's going to be the Hutt cartel first.
Yeah, my theory or my headcanon for Solo 2, I shared on Twitter yesterday. I know you saw it, JG, because we were interacting about it a little bit. But this has gone back a year ago to what I think I would love to see happen with this. I want to see, at the end of Solo, we have Maul and Qi'ra with Crimson Dawn. We have Han and Chewie getting in the Falcon and heading to Tatooine because of a gangster putting together a crew. Obviously, that's the Hutt cartel and Jabba. I want to see Jabba and Boba Fett going up against Qi'ra and Crimson Dawn, with Han and Chewie stuck somewhere in the middle of that, him probably having some kind of a loyalty or contract with Jabba, but then his love of, for Qi'ra, pulling him in the other direction. He's literally stuck in the midst of this mess, that's there. They're on Tatooine. They get into a situation they can't get out of. I don't think that we'll ever see Ben Kenobi interact with Han Solo before we get to, the Cantina and Mos Eisley in episode 4. But I do think that maybe Chewie could be off doing something, need some help. He meets an old hermit wizard on Tatooine named Ben Kenobi, and that's how Ben and Chewie know each other when they get to the Cantina in episode 4, which then I think can lead to launching the Kenobi story for Disney Plus with it. That's what I think. What do you think about that, JG?
Ooh, I mean, yeah, we went on that rabbit trail. I think it's just such an interesting. There's so many possibilities. Like I think the Qi'ra and Han story is that's huge. Like we know that Han betrays Jabba and Boba and all that, so that could really put a factor into it. Plus, you add in the Pike Syndicate. Like I was looking into Pike Syndicate because for a second I forgot who they were, and they play the major arcs in the Clone Wars, and they're part of the Shadow Collective, where the Hutt cartel and the Black Sun come together. There's so many possibilities. Like I said, this could be a 3 to 5 mini series where you have 8 episodes, and it's very interesting to see whenever you have a bunch of bad guys fighting, they all think they're good guys. Mm-hmm. That's really interesting storytelling in my opinion.
Yeah, sort of the anti-heroes are all going against each other in this storyline. And it goes back to what you and I think were talking about, Nathan, yesterday as we were talking about Solo, why we love that movie. It's in the Star Wars galaxy, in the universe there, and we know that. But Solo is interesting because there isn't the Empire. I mean, it's there, it's a presence, but it's not a storyline. Yeah. Obviously, the rebellion is not a part of that much. They brought up a little bit at the end with Enfys Nest, but they're not primary characters or entities within it. And you have no Force, you have no Jedi, you have no Sith, and yet it still feels like Star Wars because it's in the Star Wars galaxy, and They could go down that path in a really interesting way.
I feel like they're going to sort of do that with The Mandalorian a little bit.
And maybe the Cassian Andor series.
Right. Yeah. Well, no, Cassian is going to be all about the rebellion and the Empire with that. But I'm excited about that. So we'll have to keep. I know that hashtag hasn't died down a whole lot since Thursday. People are still sharing it a lot.
So do you think it's going to be like a a Sherlock series.
I hope so.
Where it's like an hour and a half each episode, 3 to 4 episodes in a season, where it's like you can binge it in one day and you...
I don't know. I mean, I would like for them to maybe release it over like a 4-week period, 4 episodes, hour and a half maybe each, and make a bigger story, kind of like what they do with Sherlock on BBC. I think that would be a ton of fun. And maybe they can do that during like a summer period when TV is not as
big.
Yeah, there's not a lot of series and things like that during that summer break, and make that a fun thing that people can tune into. But we'll just have to wait and see if something happens from it.
Indeed.
All right. Well, JG, thank you again for joining us. And I know last week you were going to put out your first episodes in celebration, but you had a computer malfunction, which we completely relate to since it's taken us like 4 shots to get this recording going today. So you're hoping to get a new episode up in the next few days, is what I understand?
Yes, it's going to be the same concept, the same everything. It just hopefully will be released this Monday. Being in LA makes it a little bit tricky, having to get a new laptop and refigure everything out. But we're shooting for Monday.
All right. Well, we look forward to it, and our thoughts and prayers and well wishes are with you for whatever you've got going on in LA today. We can't wait to hear more about it later.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too. Well, it might have started out as a slow news week, but then Vanity Fair decided to release their The Rise of Skywalker issue, and that changed very quickly. Is there a lot of misdirection in this piece? What do we learn? And come on, what's with that Luke Skywalker photo? We break it down next.
Rebellions are built on hope.
If you live long enough, you see the same eyes in different people.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
All right, so let's see if we can just jump on in here. If you haven't seen this, just search Vanity Fair, Rise of Skywalker, and it's all over the internet. You're likely going to have 2 things happen to you. You're going to find that Vanity Fair has a cap on the number of times you can read their articles without having a subscription, which I think is dumb. But anyway.
Seriously?
Oh, yeah. So you might want to like go into an incognito tab. Because then they don't know how many times you've been to their website. Yeah. So, second, you can find it on about 1,000 different other websites where they talk about everything that happens in the Vanity Fair article and show all the photos. So don't stress about it. Yeah. But let's talk about the covers of this first. Can you stop messing with your cord? Because you're going to short something out. We're going to lose our... Is that not your cord? Oh, okay. So anyway, let's talk about the covers. So we've got 2 covers of this issue. Mm-hmm. One of them is Rey, and the other is Kylo Ren. Mm-hmm. So as soon as they released these covers, there was a certain segment of Star Wars fandom that began to have palpitations and got very excited. What do you think that group was?
Reylo?
The Reylo side of things got very, very excited. What did you guys think about the covers in general?
Oh, they look great. I mean, nothing super revolutionary on the covers. It just had Kylo and Rey and the costumes that we saw in the trailer. Looks good. Planet looks like the planet from the beginning of the teaser.
Yeah.
Where she's running around. Other than that, nothing really of note.
No, I mean, it's just a cover.
Right.
Right, it's just the characters. What did you think about it, BB Nate?
Oh, I saw them. I'm like, okay, that's cool, and then I scrolled past faster than any of the other photos because it didn't have much to do with anything.
I mean, there's usually not a lot going on the cover.
Except there was some stuff that was going on in the cover. So let's just.
Here?
What's that? No, I'm not going to that one, that photoshopped image where they're like Rey's standing in front of Kylo Ren and they're holding hands and it's the exact same poses, but they fit together perfecly like a hand and glove. They're both looking in the same direction. Their robes are both blowing in the same direction, which is kind of crazy. But that was because that was reversed. What's interesting is these 2 covers are one image. And if you've seen that, You should look it up online. They're clearly one picture.
Right.
That should be side to side. You have Kylo on one side of
like
it.
It's like that binding of like the magazine would be like one side and then it just keeps going.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think that's the way that the issue is actually out there, but this is one image. They're both standing together in one scene.
Okay.
With that on the planet Pisana. Now, we're going to talk a lot about the planet Pisana because the vast majority of the visuals that we got from this issue were them on this planet.
Yeah.
This planet is going to play into this story.
It was Tatooine, though.
It's not. I'm disappointed. I don't think there's...
It's not even Jakku. Like, why can't we go back to an...
Everybody wants to go to Jakku.
I want to go back to another desert planet that we've seen. I don't want a third new one.
Well, we'll have to see what this is. They had to bring us something new. What do they say in JG? Not JG. In JG, we trust too. We love JG. But anyway, JJ, we trust. So now there's two different sets of these images. I think it's important that as Star Wars fans that we acknowledge that every one of these Vanity Fair issues has two different kinds of images in them. You have your staged images,
right,
like what we saw on the covers of this, which you just got done talking about, and then your candids, those Annie Leibovitz, where she's there on set taking photos.
Right.
I don't think you can put a whole lot of stock in the actual staged photos as to what is going on in it. We've seen those staged photos since Phantom Menace. If we haven't learned anything from those staged photos, is that you can't put a lot of stock into them. In fact, if you go all the way back to the Vanity Fair Phantom Menace issue, you actually have a staged photo of Obi-Wan Kenobi battling Darth Maul in that, on Tatooine. That never happened on Tatooine. And so, you can't put a whole lot of stock in the staged photos. We had but we did have some interesting things. We did get to get our first glimpses at some characters from that. So I think it's important that we address those stage photos. First one we got was Zori Bliss. That's Kerry Russell's character on Kijimi. Now Kijimi.
That's the name?
Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe this is named after Jimmy Kimmel.
Kijimi?
Could you not see JJ name this planet after Jimmy Kimmel?
Oh, I can 100% see that.
Kijimi. Oh my gosh, maybe we're breaking that news.
That's actually kind of cool. Tweet that out.
I'm good at it. The show's over.
I'm not going to touch. No, figure it out.
No,
our Patreon's person.
You guys be good on Patreon.
Yeah.
Okay.
No plagiarism.
Kijimi, Jimmy Kimmel, maybe. He's a big Star Wars fan. He's an ABC property. They always go on the show right before. Maybe Kijimi's named after Jimmy Kimmel. But anyway, Zori Bliss is there. It's this
a funny name.
Snow-dusted planet. That's a funny name.
Kijimi. It's fun to say.
He's a comedian. It's a funny name. Yeah, anyway.
I'm not awake.
Okay, Zori Bliss, she's this bounty hunter. We've seen her in like the costume photos that they showed out, and then that poster that everybody said that was fake, which it couldn't have been fake because it's completely accurate, even though it's probably not the movie poster. But anyway, the snow-dusted planet. We've seen this planet before. We're going to come back to that. Kijimi. We've seen this planet earlier on.
I know.
We'll have to talk about that. So let's talk about that. What did you think about Zori Bliss, though, in general? Kerry Russell's character. What did you think about her costume and all that?
I mean, not much with it right now. I think we'll get a ton more with it, but
we haven't seen her in any live action yet.
She's riding Space Forces. So
what's that?
She's riding Space Forces.
That's Jana, or what's her name?
I don't know.
I've got it down here.
Oh no! Now
Jana,
I know who we're talking about. Oh, okay.
No, I think she looks fine. She's not as cool as Boba Fett because no one's cool as Boba Fett.
She looks like she could be a cycle rider in Tron.
A lot of people are talking about
Zam.
That's true.
That goes like that.
Or the Rocketeer.
I saw that.
Or like a Zam Wessel type from Attack of the Clones, sort of that bounty hunter type. The one that scared you to death for years when you were a little kid.
She's
when you were
scary.
changeling.
Changelings are scary. Her face is scary.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was a cool character. Then we had General Hux, which we know what he looks like, obviously. But then with him, he's standing behind Allegiant. Kind of pasty. General Hux. Allegiant General Pride. That's Richard E. Grant. I always want to call him Foster because of the theologian. Richard E. Grant, sitting in this command chair with Hux standing behind him. What was your initial reaction to seeing Allegiant General Pride? What did you think about him?
I'm wondering why he said that the room started spinning when he was told who his character was.
Yeah, what about you? That's true. I hadn't thought about that. Good point.
What did you say?
He's talking about remember the Twitter video he put out after he was talking about being cast in the movie, and the room started spinning when he found out what character he was.
Right.
And everybody was like, "Oh, that means that he's this or he's that," you know.
Well, maybe they told him what his character does and how important he is to the story, and then the room started spinning.
Yeah. What do you think about this title? We've never heard this.
Well, I just want to say, though, from the photo, he looks a lot like a Tarkin character.
Yeah.
He's going to be the Tarkin character in this.
Well, and then you also have this title, Allegiant General. We've never heard that before, but it seems to me to harken back to the whole Grand Moff feel to it as well.
He's going to have a pretty high ranking, I have a feeling.
Who's going to be in charge, Hux or Allegiant General Pride? And where has Allegiant General Pride been during this time?
I feel like Allegiant General Pride's going to take over. Like, we're not necessarily over Kylo, but he's going to dethrone Hux, for lack of a better term. Where's he been? Well, I don't know. I mean, we've heard that the First Order is all throughout the galaxy. He could have been in any number of places at this point.
Yep. Okay, and then another one of the staged photos was Finn and Janna. First time we've seen Janna in action, really.
Yeah, with her space bow.
Yeah, on Orbax, which are
space horses.
Space horses. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that? I mean, it's clearly a staged photo, but I mean, it was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, no, it was totally cool. Excited to see more of her character. I like the weapons she uses. I don't know why. I just kind of liked that idea. The Orbax, space horses. That's cool. You can't really go wrong with space horses. Okay. But not really a whole lot to talk about with those.
Okay. Then we have this scene. I think it's staged. Some people may argue with me about it. They may claim it's a part of the movie, but it was too finished for me for it to be part of the film. It fit the look and feel of the staged photos, so that's why I'm including it in here, which is Kylo Ren and Rey in the rain or in the water, somehow water spraying around them on some type of a mechanical structure. Now, did you guys pick up the fact that they're on a mechanical structure?
No,
of some
I
sort?
think I saw it and didn't think much of it.
Yeah, so they're either on, some people are suggesting it's Death Star 2, the ruins of it, or that they're on even maybe the Millennium Falcon somewhere on the ground. But they're battling. It looks like they could be battling it out. Some people suggest that there's a piece that's missing from it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. I was like, Rey's stance does not look like she's fighting Kylo. I'm like, there's got to be something in the middle here that's not
so
there.
Now the fun thing to do is put different characters in there. Like I've seen Jar Jar Binks in there. I've seen, some of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but there's something missing in that picture.
Okay. We'll come back to those two a little bit later. We have our traditional cockpit shot from the Falcon, which is a common piece in these Vanity Fair ones, if that's an opportunity. So you have Finn, Lando, Chewie, BB-8, and Dio in the Falcon cockpit. More than anything, it's just kind of a cool sequence. I think that may suggest that those characters are doing something together on some mission, but
again, it's a staged photo.
It's a staged photo.
Really trust it.
Exactly. And then we have this picture of Luke. He's standing in front of this fire. He's in his sacred Jedi robes. His hair looks like the Last Jedi. He's got R2 with him. And people are losing their mind over this photo. There's like conspiracy theories out there with it.
You think?
Yeah, because you take the same basic shot that exists in the Vanity Fair cover or Vanity Fair issue from The Last Jedi. And you have Luke standing there in the same robes with his hand exactly the same way, looking, gloved hand and everything. It's looking almost identical. It's like they took two versions of that photo and used the unhooded version in this one. And in this one, he's standing in front of some fire. He's going on behind him. So, people have suggested at first that this was the Jedi Academy that was being destroyed. Although, let's be honest, he didn't look like that. He didn't dress like that. His hair wasn't like that when the Jedi Academy was done. There have been actual droid builder groups that have taken the scale of Luke versus R2 and say that R2 was photoshopped in and he doesn't fit the height that he should be for this. It is craziness.
Us Star Wars fans, we're not stupid.
No, but we're nuts. Because if we're spending that much time trying to analyze something that's clearly not a reasonable photo that we should take seriously, then we need maybe to dial it back just a notch. But what do you guys think about the photo? Do you think it's some type of a sequence from the Rise of Skywalker, or?
I think it's misdirection. I think they're just doing it to throw us off, get us going crazy and stuff.
I think this confirms that Luke's going to be in there. I know he.
Well, no, we know Luke's going to be in
there, but I think it's, like you said, it's going to give us something to speculate about for a little bit, for 5 seconds, until droid builder groups compare scale sizes and debauch the whole thing.
Yeah, debunk it, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that this is not a shot from the Rise of Skywalker. I don't think that this is even a shot of Luke in his costume or his styling or anything from the Rise of Skywalker. I think that it is a shot of Luke that they took during the Last Jedi shots, and they're hiding everything they can about Luke until later on in this film.
Yeah.
I think there's a big reveal coming with
Why
Luke.
put anything Luke in there then?
Because they realized, I think at the last minute, they're getting ready to release this issue, and they're like, if we don't put Luke in this, everybody's going to freak out, and it was an overreaction, and they backfired. I think that there's something really special going to happen with Luke in this, and they're holding it back.
Do you think Palpatine is not back for real?
No, I think Palpatine is definitely there. JJ's confirmed it. His voice is in there.
I'm talking about physically. Like, is he a Force ghost? Something like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it could be. We could be seeing. There was talk at one point during the original trilogy of having a Force ghost version of Obi-Wan battling Darth Vader in a sequence. I would love to see a Force ghost out Luke versus a Force ghost Palpatine.
That'd be nuts.
I was just about to touch on that. The Force ghost Palpatine battling Force ghost Luke with Kylo battling Rey all at the same time.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe Anakin, you could throw him in there. Okay, let's move on past the staged images into the candid images by Annie Leibovitz, because those are the ones where I think we start to see some things that we can actually glean from this issue. With it, we have you're going to see a theme here. I'm going to just go ahead and list those first 4 sets of images, and you'll find that there's a theme with this. Now, this could just be because this is when Annie Leibovitz was able to go to set.
Right.
But you have Rey on Pisana. You have the Knights of Ren on Pisana. You have Finn, Rey, Chewie, and 3PO on Pisana. You have 3PO by himself on Pisana. You have Chewie, BB-8, and Rey on Pisana. And you have the Aki-Aki on Pisana. What's the first thing that we notice about these?
It's Pisana.
It's all this desert planet.
Right.
What do you guys think? Is this like where the vast majority of this film takes place?
I don't know. I mean, I want to say it's misdirection because I don't want it all to happen on this one desert planet that's new when they could be doing it on Tatooine. But yeah, I feel like it is.
What about you, BB Nate?
No, I don't think it's going to be a majority on this planet. I think it's going to be very just there. Like, I think it's misdirection mainly. I think we get, what's her name? Jannah.
Yeah.
Jannah. I think we get Jannah, and
they're still holding back, by the way, on Jannah. They were in the article. They alluded to the fact that she could be related to somebody. The big theory on that is that she's Lando's daughter.
Right.
With it, which would be cool. But so we've got all this stuff happening up Pisana. But here's the one thing I think is important that we can know. We do know that all of our main characters are present on Pisana. All of our main Resistance characters. Rey, Finn, Chewie, 3PO, BB-8.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Dio,
Jannah. They're all present on Pisana. But then we also had that one shot from back in Star Wars Celebration from the panel where they show them all on the forest planet at the Falcon.
Yeah.
And they're all present there. And then we have from the trailer, we have them all present on that planet with the Death Star 2, or what we're assuming is the Death Star 2.
Endor, probably.
Or Endor or something like that planet. So we have them present really almost together the entire film. Do you think, traditionally speaking, especially in the sequel trilogy, but going back even to Empire, Return of the Jedi, all that, you've got sort of parallel stories going on where they're off on different tracks, like going back to The Last Jedi, you've got Rey, you've got the Resistance, and then you've got Canto Bight, these 3 different locations, and they're not all together. But this one, it feels like, at least from this, that the entire story is taking place, all of them together. What do you guys think about that?
I would like for it to all happen together just because it feels like it would finish off the story better if they're all together. You get to, all of them have more screen time together. You don't get any, well, this isn't because I didn't like it, but it helps with the fans. You don't get any Canto Bight sequences where people think it's completely unnecessary. If they're all together, it's got to be necessary. That's what I feel like.
I want them to be all together. I think it would be a better idea. And since we have 3 planets, probably.
At least.
Yeah, because we have Pasaana, the forest planet, which I'm pretty sure is Forest Moon of Endor. And then Endor, probably.
Okay.
And then that snowy planet. And
we have Kijimi, too.
Yeah, so...
It's what it's called.
It just sounds weird.
Anyway, all right.
Doesn't sound Star Wars.
Okay, so and then we also have a shot. We have the alien creatures that they're introducing, the Aki-Aki, that are from Pasaana. Mm-hmm. But then you have this candid shot of the Knights of Ren. The first time we've seen the Knights of Ren outside of the Force vision. We've heard a little bit about them in the Force Awakens. Nothing really in The Last Jedi. With it, but the Knights of Ren are present on this desert planet Pasaana as well. So, what are your thoughts on the Knights of Ren and their presence there?
I'm just excited to see them. We've not seen them in action. I want to know what these guys are, what they do, what's up with that. Now, I know you and I had talked about this, but there was a photo where someone figured out that one of the weapons that the Knights of Ren is holding is identical to one of the weapons in Dryden Voss's trophy room. It's the shrine right in front of the Mandalorian costume, or the Mandalorian armor. And it is identical, 100% the same weapon.
No, it's not.
It looks the exact same. You cannot tell me.
First of all, you're only seeing a portion of both of them. And if I go back, Phil Sotstak, who's one of the guys that's involved in like designing and stuff, he worked for Lucasfilm. He was the one that designed the Porg and all that. I'm trying to find where he talks about this because it was brought up the other day. So now I'm trying to go back in his Twitter feed. I've gone too far. All right, keep talking about it. So explain what's going on.
So I feel like it's the same weapon. As to its significance, it may not be that significant. I mean, it's not like there can be one type of weapon that's been mass produced, Like, stormtroopers use the same weapons, rebels sometimes use the same weapons, so it could just be that this Knight of Ren liked this weapon and decided to pick one up for himself. But if you look at the picture, I feel like it looks almost identical.
Well, it does look almost identical. It should, because according to Phil Sotstak, and in our world, they're both bouncing off of the Knights of Ren axe designed from The Force Awakens. Props probably had extras lying around and redressed it to be appropriate for Dryden's collection. So it's just a prop that they stuck in the background.
That's cheap.
Yeah, sorry. So, all right.
Lame.
Yeah, no,
No, but I'm excited to see Knights of Ren.
Yeah, that'll be cool. Now, it's funny because this is where we start getting into misdirection again. Because Vanity Fair originally, when they put out the article, made it very clear. They stated very clearly in print that the sequence in the teaser where Kylo Ren is in the fiery forest thing with his lightsaber and he does the rock bottom on some, you guys aren't wrestling guys, so Dwayne The Rock Johnson, his move. Yeah, anyway, he does like the rock bottom on this character that he was battling the Knights of Ren. That's what they said on Wednesday morning. And so Twitter and social media blew up. up about that. Unfortunately,
Impressive. Every word in that sentence was wrong.
Every word in that sentence was wrong. They ended up having to recount that, go back and say that they made a mistake. Even the guy in a Reddit Q&A session, the guy that wrote the Lev, I can't remember what his last name is, who wrote the article, was being asked about it, and someone for Variety had to come into the thread and apologize that they had made a mistake. And that's not the case. And that goes back to something that was interesting, because Jason Ward and I were going and having a very private DM type conversation about this. I was asking him about it, and he was swearing up and down that he knows for a fact that Kylo Ren is not taking on the Knights of Ren in that sequence, and he's got a story that's going to break about that soon. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays itself out. If we get any more information about it, we'll let him tell it first before we go any further with that. But he was telling me all of that, and I was like, well, why would they say anything about that on the article if it wasn't true? And he's like, they always, these writers for these websites, when they get this information, they get fed bad information all the time because they're trying to misdirect, and they get sort of put in a bad position with it all the time, and that's what's going on with this. And then within just a few minutes after that, Vanity Fair had to back off the story, which I thought was really interesting on that. Let's see, we talked about that. Let's talk about I don't want to get you guys giggling again, but Kijimi, this snow-dusted planet. We saw it in this staged photo with Zori Bliss, but we also saw it in the trailer. It's
where the ship was flying in?
Yeah, where the ship from what looks to be the same ship that's in The Force Awakens Rey's Forceback vision, which she's being left on Jakku, is now landing on this planet Kijimi. Now, this goes back to a big conversation and big theory. Anthony Breznican thinks it has to do, we're going to get more information about Rey's parentage in this movie. It's tying it all together on that. Why do you think that ship is landing on that planet that we saw Zori Bliss, and how do you think it connects? You were getting ready to say something, Sam?
It wasn't entirely related to that. Anyway, as for its connection, I don't know if it necessarily has a connection with, what's her name?
Zori Bliss.
Zori Bliss, yeah. I don't think it necessarily has a connection. It could just be more misdirection. I mean, it is Vanity Fair. I feel like, I don't know why, but I just get the vibe that if that is a ship going to, I'm going to pronounce it Kijimi.
Okay, whatever.
More Star Wars-y. Kijimi. I feel like it's not going... Zori Bliss is in the ship. I feel like the ship's going there to meet her. I don't know why, I just get that vibe, though. I feel like someone's going to Kijimi to meet Zori Bliss, to hire her or talk with her or something. I don't get the vibe that she's in the ship. I don't know why, I can't explain it, just a gut feeling.
What do you think about this, BB Nate?
I don't particularly agree with your gut feeling.
Well, that's your problem.
Because why would we see the same ship twice and then the main another character shows up? Why would she be in this movie?
So what do you think is going on with the ship then?
I think that's her ship. I think she was hired to take Rey and to Jakku and leave her there for...
So she knows about Rey's parentage in this theory. She's the one that was hired to dump Rey on Jakku, and now somehow we're going back to that planet and we're going to find her, and she's landing on that planet, and that's where we get her presence there, and that helps us connect the story as to what actually is going on with Rey, where she comes from. It is interesting to note that they've made it clear that there is more to Rey's parentage that we're going to get in this movie, and it seems to me that's where we're going on that. Would you be okay with that kind of
thing? Yeah, no, that's fine. I just had that gut feeling, so...
Interesting. Let's talk a little bit more about some of the revelations in the article, because the article itself is a lot of stuff that it's a lot of talk and not a lot of substance. Some maybe behind the scenes stuff, but there were some quotes in there that were really interesting by JJ. First of all, JJ says, the trilogy is about the young generation, this new generation, having to deal with all the debt that has come before. It really ties into this other quote that he said on there. He says, it wasn't all over when the Ewoks sang, talking about the Return of the Jedi.
Right.
Obi-Wan died in vain. Even Han and Leia split up. it's all a little less of a fairy tale now. So when you take those two quotes together, where he then says that this generation has to deal with all the debt that has come before, two things happen. One, the missed opportunities, sort of, why can't we have the gang back together, get the band back together in the cockpit? That's not what this trilogy is about. They had their chance and they failed,
right? Is
what JJ is saying. And now Finn, Poe, Rose, Rey, all of them have to deal with the consequences of the failure of the original trilogy.
Don't say
Lando.
that around certain fans.
Well, it's true though. I mean, that's what the storyline is.
No, I know what you mean.
With that, what do you guys think about that whole idea of sort of that debt that's owed, and how the happy ending of Return of the Jedi wasn't so happy?
Yeah, no, I mean it does make it seem less all hunky dory. It makes it seem like this has got a real story. This is important. And isn't it like a biblical theme, like the sins of the father are passed on or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, we've been reading, as a family, we read the same Bible passages together every day. We've been reading through Judges, and you guys, I think, Mom asked me before we started reading that book what the theme of that is, and I said it's cyclical. I mean, you have, in the scriptures, you have Israel is right with God, they're honoring Him, they're worshiping Him alone, they're keeping His commandments, and they're being blessed. And then they fail, they start to fall into idol worship, they start starting to disobey God. God allows their enemies to conquer them as a punishment. They're under bondage for a period of time, and then they repent, and then God sends a judge, in this case, to restore them and to bring them out of the bondage. But then the pattern starts to repeat itself all over again. The more things change, the more they stay the same is a phrase that you've heard. History is doomed to repeat itself is a phrase that's in there. I think that in some ways that's what the sequel trilogy is showing us. We talked about it the other day. I think we were driving yesterday and I mentioned that the Force Awakens is just basically a rehash of A New Hope.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And and other people have mentioned that as well. So it's the same stories over and over and over again, but different generations having to deal with it. So I think that that's a really interesting element with it. Another thing that happens is I think Reylo is going to happen. I think that the two covers allude to it, some of the sequences, and then things that were said in that. In fact, the author of the article said Rey and Kylo Ren's Force connection will turn out to run even deeper than we thought. What do you think that means?
I mean, honestly, I couldn't say. I don't know what that could mean. I don't. I have no idea. I'm drawing a blank. I don't know what that could mean.
Yeah. What do you think?
There's so many different routes you can go.
Some people are suggesting that means that they're brother and sister.
That's where my mind immediately goes, but that seems too easy.
It just doesn't make sense. The Han and Leia thing just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
What do you think, BB Nate?
I honestly don't think anything. I think, it's the author of the article, the writer of the article, and I understand that most of it was right, but with the Knights of Ren thing, I think that their Force connection is going to be deep. I just don't think it's going to be like brother-sister.
Yeah, I think that we could see, I understand what you guys are coming from. I don't think that means that they have to have a familial bond.
Yeah.
In order for this Force connection to be deeper. I think that it could mean that what we saw in The Last Jedi with the Force bond, the Force, what was it? Force time is the joke, instead of FaceTime, it's Force time.
Oh, yeah.
With that, I think that we could see that is the connection they're talking about. That connection is even stronger.
Right. That's what
than what we saw in that. There was a lot of people that suggested that when the ramp of the Millennium Falcon goes up at the end of The Last Jedi, that connection is over. With it, what we're finding is that connection is going to be even stronger at this. They did renounce that this is about a year after the events of The Last Jedi. They made that very, very clear in the article. Of course, that could be wrong because they've gotten some other stuff wrong in this article, but I have a feeling that that's probably pretty accurate. We've been hearing that from other people as well. John Boyega said that months ago. So I have a feeling that that's probably pretty accurate. But there's this, and I'm going to just go ahead and give a spoiler alert. I'm not going to talk about sourcing for this, but I am going to give a spoiler alert on this. So here we go. There's a rumor out there that we could be seeing them battling each other in the Force. Rey versus Kylo. Like, that connection is so strong that they can literally battle each other in the Force, and they keep being transported from one location to in the history of the battle between the Sith and the Jedi to another location, to another location, to another location while they're battling with it. And you could be, this goes to me, this sounds very Endgame-ish.
Yeah.
Endgame brought back the whole cast, and there was these moments where they brought everybody in, and it was the curtain call.
And they go back to
well,
this
yeah,
time.
but then also, yeah, exactly. But I mean, I
Spoilers.
could exactly.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Spoiler ban's lifted. Who cares?
But I honestly think that that's what they're talking about. I think that they're literally that connected. There is a yin and yang element to Rey and Kylo Ren. There's this ultimate darkness, ultimate light. J.J. Abrams during The Force Awakens said that when The Force Awakening is not just The Force Awakening in Rey for good and the light side, it is The Force Awakening in Kylo Ren to the dark side.
Right.
And so there's this yin and yang balance thing.
Dooku talked about it.
Exactly. I think that that's what's going on with this. But what would you guys think? Let's just speculate a little responsibly here. What would you guys think if you're like, they're battling each other and all of a sudden they're then on Endor,
Coruscant.
and then they're on Coruscant, and then they're on Mustafar, and then they're on Tatooine, and then they're, you know what I'm saying? They're Hoth. They're going from one of these locations from the Star Wars worlds to another while they're battling each other. What would be your thought on that?
I like it. It's ambitious. It's risky, so a lot of fans won't like it. But that's their problem. I like the idea. It sounds awesome. It is very curtain call-y, but I don't care. It worked for Endgame. Endgame was great. We've all loved Endgame. I'd like that.
Yeah.
I would like that idea.
Yeah, and then what do you think about that, BB Nate?
I would love it. I like the idea of going back through the times and wrapping up the Skywalker saga, going throughout the whole saga of everything that happened. It would be amazing. I would really enjoy it.
Another thing
I want to see them fight on Mustafar.
That'd be cool. One of the things that they did say in this article that actually got me to stop in my tracks when I read it was that this will show the final resolution of the battle between the Jedi and the Sith. Yeah. What do you guys think about that?
All right, that's a bold claim. That is really bold.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna really wrap it up fully. I think there's of course gonna be little sprouts here and there. That will happen with the Empire. That's gonna happen with the
Grammy's here for her birthday.
Yes, that happened with the First Order. It's gonna happen anywhere. But I think it's gonna mostly die, and I don't know who's gonna win. I don't know if anybody's gonna win.
I think it's gonna be a mutual.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some more things. Anthony Daniels says that 3PO's role surprises everybody.
I feel like I saw this meme and it says Star Wars is really just about 3 different generations bullying 3PO.
Yeah.
I think 3PO's fed up with everyone's crap. He's done getting bullied and pushed around, and he's just going to take stuff into his own hands.
Like that during the panel.
This is madness.
Yeah.
He even acted like it.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm done.
He acted a lot like it.
He's like, I'm going to do this for myself now. I don't care. We'll probably see 3PO die.
Yeah. Oh, I hope not. What about this? Lieutenant Connix, that's played by Billy Lord, will share significant screen time with General Organa, her Carrie Fisher. Who's his mother. This has been said that there's sequences that they have created to where she's actually acting in scenes, interacting with General Organa in a really close, personal way, that they created scenes that way. JJ almost tried to avoid that, and then Billy Lord came back and asked him to do that because she wants her kids, when she has them, to see her acting with her mom, Carrie Fisher. What do you guys think about that?
Wow. That's intense. I imagine that was pretty emotional, the film.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Okay. And then the last thing we'll read in this segment is a final quote by J.J. Abrams. I think that this is where things get really exciting. I'll ask you, BB Nate, to chime in on this first. That's the challenge of this movie. It wasn't just to make one film that as a standalone experience would be thrilling and scary and emotional and funny, but one that, if you were to watch all 9 of the films, you'd feel like, well, of course, that.
So he's meaning that this movie just feels like it ties it all up. Is that
like
what he's meaning?
everything that you've seen from 1 through 9 suddenly makes sense because of things that happen in 9.
Some things that I think you like see, you're like, what does that mean? I think you'll figure it out like, oh, so that's what that meant, and all that kind of stuff. It's gonna be like Endgame.
How much time did he spend in a room with the storyboard writing?
And
pitching to Kathleen Kennedy. Okay,
that is
Kathleen's just sitting there. Okay, what's the weirdest stuff we can do?
If he pulls this off, he will forever have my respect. Yeah. Because this is no small feat.
Here's what's interesting. Can you think about what would have happened had Colin Trevorrow continued to be the writer and the director of this film? We would be seeing it this weekend.
Oh.
It was going to be originally it was supposed to release on your birthday, May 24th.
Really?
And Colin Trevorrow was going to be there. Are you glad now, based on what you know about this, that JJ is the one that's writing this, and you're willing to wait another 6 months?
I can't make a judgment because I don't know what Collins would have looked like. It's the same with like
Lord and Miller.
Yeah, Lord and Miller. Like I couldn't say what theirs was compared to Ron Howard's. So from what I'm hearing so far, I'm excited for J.J. Abrams' version.
Cool. Awesome. Well, we'll have to wait and see. All right. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about?
Anything else?
Disneyland holds auditions for stormtroopers to work on Galaxy's Edge.
Wow.
Sign me up.
Can you imagine how many 501st guys in LA have been lining up for that?
Oh.
So I found out about this article yesterday, and it was within just a few minutes of me finding out that JG was in Los Angeles this weekend. And I saw my first thought when I saw the headline of the article was maybe JG is auditioning to work as a cast member this summer as a stormtrooper. So then I opened up the article, and this is literally the way that my mind went. I open up the article and I start reading it, and they talk about the height requirements for it. And the next thing that came to my mind without me even like connecting it to Star Wars was, man, JG's a little short to be a stormtrooper. And then I started laughing because it was like, oh my gosh, that's classic right there. Star Wars moment. So I asked him, I'm like, aren't you a little short to be a stormtrooper? And he started laughing. He's like, no, I'm not here for that. So it has
What's
nothing
the height
to do.
Requirement?
It's like 5'10" to 6'2" or something.
Oh,
like
I'm good.
That. Yeah, you could be there.
I just don't think I have the build.
A slender build. No, it talked about a slender build because you have to fit in the costume. So
I might be moving to LA.
No, they've already finished the auditions. Those were on your on Friday actually, or Thursday with that. All right.
Classic 70s Star Wars figures are getting Hasbro re-release, and they already have, and people are getting them.
They're amazing. The 3.5-inch figures, they look just like the ones.
With the
card stock is the same. But everything looks the same.
This one's real.
This one, the Boba Fett that you got for your birthday, is real. What do you guys think? Do you guys think you would love to check out getting a couple of those? We're not collectibles guys that much.
No, I know.
Like the Han.
At that point, I would rather get an old one. It's got more value to me. I mean, it'd be cool to have one that looks like it, but it's not the same.
Okay.
You know?
Fair enough.
That's just my opinion.
All right. Gary Fisher's daughter, we talked about her in the last segment as well, but Billie Lourd admits, this is hilarious, that she hated Star Wars as a child.
I didn't particularly.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Yeah, but can you imagine being the daughter of Princess Leia and having to be around that all the time? And yeah, you'd hate Star Wars. It's all that everybody had talked about all the time around you with it. But now she says, I dig it now. So thank you very much, Billie Lourd. We're excited about that. All right. This week's podcast poll of the week. Got it right again. After the Vanity Fair, The Rise of Skywalker issue, where's your excitement level for episode 9? Higher, lower, same, or other comment below? I'm going to ask you to give your initial reaction. Higher, lower, or same?
Oh, higher, of course, because any news is better than news.
Yeah, higher.
Higher, really? I'm
same.
Well,
I'm going to stay the same.
Like higher, just barely higher. Like not much of a difference.
When I first read the articles and started, he's battling the Knights of Ren and all this other stuff, I was like really excited to hear what that meant. When I found out that wasn't the case, and I backed off a little bit, I'm back down to about the same. All right, well we got to get to Grammy's birthday party. This has been too long of a recording.
Well, yeah, we've been having mic issues all day,
but it's still working right now, so that's good. So we want to We want to thank all of you guys that make this show possible. We've got our producers, Eric McGilvray, Ian Thompson, and Emily Hoffman. Our senior producers, Kate Disney Lugers, which actually got to participate just briefly today on our Facebook Live for Patreon feed. And Judith Jesse, we're getting ready to celebrate her birthday. Emily Hoffman, Kate Disney Lugers, Judith Jesse, Roberto Moreno, and then, of course, our beloved executive producer, host of the Blue Saber podcast. If you're not listening to it, you're not a real Star Wars fan. Unless he's not putting out any episodes because his computer crashes. But he has a new one coming out Monday. Check it out. JG Kars. Thank you again, LJ Snowder. Yeah. LJ Snowder, thank you for becoming a new Patreon supporter. Any of you that want to support family-friendly Star Wars podcasting, we'd love for you to check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/Tatooine Sons. We're all over all the social medias, at Tatooine Sons, everything but Snapchat, because we don't know what that means, or how that works. It's confusing. And, go to your podcatcher, iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, Spotify, whatever else ones you guys want to go to, and give us a review. All right, it would mean a lot to us.
About podcasts,
yeah,
I was watching, the news with Papa, and I think it's CBS this morning. They have a podcast.
Yeah, lots of things have podcasts,
but they aren't on Spreaker.
Oh, because they didn't use that platform.
They don't know what they're doing.
I bet you they're probably listening to a little more than us. But you guys can help make that different by giving us some reviews. I think that's going to pretty much do it for the show. Anything else you guys want to say?
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you always.
This party's over.
I like that Wookiee.
Don't get technical with me.
Droid, please.
Yep.
Tatooine Sons, the Star Wars podcast, is not endorsed by Lucasfilm Limited or Disney and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. The official Star Wars site is located at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, and all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders.